It is the absolute right of the state to control what the public thinks. That's a quote from an infamous man. And that same man's philosophy on lying is that when you tell a lie, tell one that's so big, so great big, that reasonable people will believe it. Because they'll think to themselves, it must be true. Nobody would tell a lie like that. And that person's name was Joseph Goebbels. And he was the propaganda secretary for another sociopath whose first name was Adolf. And they were pretty much the founders, the original founders of what today we call a hate crime. And a hate crime is defined by Congress as a crime that is instituted in whole or in part out of bias against a person's race, religion, or sexual orientation. And what we've witnessed here, folks, against this man is a hate crime. Not only perpetrated by Anthony DeBay, but also by your government, by the people sitting at this table right here. You know, over the weekend I was at my friend's house talking to his dad. I was telling him about what's happened in this courtroom over the last weekend, and he looked at me and he kind of laughed. But I knew by the way he was looking at me, like he didn't really believe what I was saying to him. He was thinking to himself, there's got to be more than this. Why would they go through with this? If this is what's happened in that courtroom, why would they continue to go through with it? And that made me think about it. Why would they? And then I realized that even though this prosecutor and the one that was elected takes an oath that holds them to a higher standard, an oath to pursue justice, that this case isn't about pursuing justice. This case, it's political. When I say it's political, I mean that if they were to stop in the middle of this prosecution, because there was a little part of my mind that thought, you know, on Wednesday, when I send an email to the prosecutor outlining the clear perjury of her one witness to this alleged incident, 2 minutes versus 18 minutes, that this would stop. That she would stand up in the courtroom in front of this jury, and look at Brian Reed, and look at the judge and say, Your Honor, on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan, in light of recent revelations, which we were not aware of when we filed these charges, we move to dismiss the charges against Brian Reed. And Brian, I hope you'll accept the apology of my office, of my boss, Jessica Cooper, and myself for what we've done to your life. And then immediately have Anthony DeBay arrested for perjury and filing a false police report. And that obviously didn't happen. And when I reflect upon it, I know that's a pipe dream of what the world should be and not what it is. Because what it is that if they were to do that one time, I mean, we've all lived, as long as you've lived in this county, have you ever heard of just one person being charged with perjury? Even one time? Nobody has, because it's never happened. Not in recent history. And the reason why it doesn't happen is because they were ever to charge one of their witnesses with perjury, that would have a ripple effect, you see. A ripple effect that let every accuser know, and every prosecutor know, that when your accuser gets up there and commits perjury, you have a duty to call it out and to see that person is brought up on charges. And see, you know what that would do? That would quell the accusers. They would stop with their exaggerations and their lies. And the prosecutors would stop encouraging these exaggerations and lies, because by doing this, what do? They get something that they want, something political, something called the 97% conviction rate. And when it's time to get reelected, Jessica Cooper, 97% conviction rate. tough justice in Oakland County. But could she be that right all the time? Or is the real number that only 80% of them are guilty, but 17% of that are innocent? They either plead guilty because they're too poor to defend themselves, or we suborn a little perjury and make sure that we get our conviction rates way up there. It's political. And that's why they can't stop. And they won't stop until somebody says something to stop them. I was almost considering not giving you a closing argument because the evidence of, or the lack of evidence, however you want to call it, but evidence of Brian's innocence is so overwhelming. I mean, you all, nobody's witnessed, I've never witnessed this much perjury. I've witnessed perjury, but not to the extent, duration, and nature as we've seen from Anthony Dubé. But I did prepare a closing argument for you that I am giving you because I know at least one person, apparently one person, still thinks that there could be some possibility that Brian's guilty. Some possibility. I think she's all by herself over here. The deputy, I don't think he feels that way anymore. If we could get to the deputy's mind, into who he is, and why he became a police officer, and how he's feeling right now, I bet he feels pretty crappy about what he's done to this man's life, about his choice not to do any investigation and just believe that sociopath named Anthony Dubé. But he can't stand up and say anything. He can't. You heard him. He doesn't have any power. I got no power to do anything. Nobody asked me for my opinion. That's true. He doesn't have any power. He could say to the prosecutor at lunchtime, he could say, "My God, why are you going through with this still? Why are you going through with it? I mean, how can you continue to prosecute this man in light of what we know now?" And who knows what her answer was. Really, who cares? But she's just towing the company line, like all the assistant prosecutors do in this courthouse, seeking convictions, seeing how skillful they can be to see if they convince 12 of you to convict a person with zero evidence. That's the skillful prosecutor. Shit, anybody can convict a guilty guy. It's the skillful one that can convict a man who's completely innocent. That's the mentality of this office, folks.